Hi all. This is the first video. This is going to cover user interface and some file management. Remember that there are steps that I've included on how to do all of this. In addition, the second video goes through in pretty detail. It is quick, but you can just kind of rewatch clips that you miss. Um, everything that we're going to cover in class. All right, so the first thing you do when you open Fusion 360 is to save. Um, there should be this show data panel thing here, and for me there's a bunch of different folders and projects I'm working on. For you, it probably won't say anything. You're going to want to click a new project and go ahead and name it something. I'll just name it Engrave. And then I'm going to hide the data panel because I don't really need it anymore. And then in here, we're going to save. We'll click on this little floppy disk symbol. And we're going to find that project you just created. It's going to be much easier for you to find than for me. There it is. And I'll just call this Engrave 1. Click Save. Now once you do that, the name, you see I have 3 different tabs open. Those are different projects. Doing this out of order a little bit. The name of the file is here, and the name of the design is here, and it's also here. This is called the browser bar, and these are your tools. Some things to note about Fusion 360. There are a bunch of different what are called workstations that allow you to do very, very different things. When you click on one, your whole user interface changes, and what you do in this software is different. We're not going to really get into any of that right now. We're just going to stay in the Design tab, and as I mentioned in the other video, we're going to stick primarily in the Sketch portion of this Design tab. So most of these things we won't even get into today. The things we will cover, I want everybody to change your units. If you click on this tab here in your browser bar, you change the units to inches. For the class, you can work in millimeters if you prefer, but for the class, that's what we all did, and if you're following along in the video, I work in inches for the video. And then down here in grids and snaps, you're going to select grid settings. You want to make sure layout grid is also checked. Grid settings, fixed instead of adaptive, that's pretty important. And then major grid spacing, 1 inch, minor subdivisions, 10. And click OK. That's already set up this way. Make sure you do that if you're following along. And really, I don't know, I've used Fusion a lot. I can't think of a time to do adaptive. So if I click on adaptive, what it does is it updates your grid. And it's confusing. I don't really know why people do it. Maybe there are reasons why. But for us, we'll do fixed, major grid spacing, 1 inch, minor subdivision 10. All right, so firstly, here over on the left side is your browser bar. What you should do at the start of every time you're creating a design is right-click that browser bar and click New Component. This is basically like creating a new folder, and you will name it something. You could name it like Engraving Attempt 1 something. 1A. Everything that you create, and as we start kind of creating things, will be populated in this folder. So it's a good idea to create a new component. It just kind of consolidates everything in there. As you're going to, so for example, if I draw some circles, squares, and then select these squares and do this extrude command. And then I'll do another command called modify and fill it. A couple different things. Down here now in the browser bar, if I click on that tab, you'll see before it just had origins, and now it has bodies and sketches. So as things get populated, because I drew 4 squares, but they were separate, they became 4 different bodies. So I could go through and click on each one and name it. Square 1, square 2, thing that used to be square. That's probably good design organization. I'm not going to do it right now. And then you'll see down here, it's invisible to make it revisible. I just click the little eyeball. You can see the sketch below. So that is your browser bar. And if we were to create a new component, so if I right click a new component here, it starts down here, I can name it like Engrave 2, I'll just call it 2 for short. You'll see that everything in Engrave 1 is now in the shadows. It's still there, but we're just not working in that file anymore. So it's just kind of a way of helping you organize. As you get more in depth in this program, you get kind of complicated. In order to go back, you just have to click the little button there to reactivate it. Okay, the other thing is, as we've been creating things, they populate down here in the timeline. So if I go back, you'll see that here's the sketch, there's the extrusion, and then there's that thing where I modified it. It's called a fillet command. I'm going to double click on the sketch. And if I change the shapes of these squares and then click Finish Sketch, you'll see that the timeline updates everything. That's pretty cool. Alright, and then up here you have a bunch of different tools that we will not really be covering in class, so I'll just kind of glaze over them. Everything that we'll be doing in class is going to be in the sketch mode, except for this insert and canvas option. Everything else will be in the sketch mode, create sketch, and the main things you'll be looking at are line, rectangle, circle, spline, and then there are some modify commands that you'll probably use, which are fillet and trim and offset. Those are probably the main ones. Anyway, I will cover that in video 2. I think that's all you need to know for video 1. When you're done, of course, save or save as. That's all.